Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Wilson Campus Library for those that are in person, and also welcome to those that are online to the Learning Resources Tech Tuesday Skill Shop. Today we're covering using generative AI tools, but we're actually focusing on the Adobe Firefly application. For those that don't know, I'll give a quick run through of what Adobe Firefly is. It's a part of the Creative Cloud host of applications. Those those other applications that are included in Adobe Cloud is the Adobe Premiere, Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator. Those are the more commonly known applications known to the students and everybody. So this workshop is tailored towards students. Um, so you'll be able to take great advantage of this workshop. And we're going to be covering using generative AI tools, Adobe Firefly Edition. For those that just came in, just know that this workshop is being recorded. Please enter your student ID number on the chat for attendance. Okay, I'm on this screen. A little bit about myself. My name is Johnny Molina. I'm an instructional assistant at the Wilson Campus Learning Resources. I'm generally known here as the technologist. I love technology, and I have certifications in augmented and virtual reality. And recently I got my AI awareness certificate as part of the course for the AI bachelor's program here at Wilson Campus, which I will continue to enroll and taking more courses towards that. Next up in line are Python and computer vision. So if you're heavily interested in this topic, I strongly suggest reaching out to NTech for more information. I'm also a member of the couple of committees here for the Learning Resources Department college-wide. I'm part of the technology work group and the video group committee. Some of my work, again, deals a lot with technology. The work group for technology, we're always looking for new technology that we can help bring to the library to assist students with their curriculum in classes, where we can enhance their projects either through content creation or just exposure to new innovative technologies that they will be encountering when they go out to the workplace. And I'm also part of I'm the skill shop editor. I produce all these workshops, all the workshops that are given by Learning Resources. They end up being sent to me, and I produce, I edit them, and then they're sent to my supervisors, and then media services for publishing. So the agenda for today is to discover innovative technology using AI to generate creative content. You're going to learn about Adobe Firefly. I already mentioned about the Adobe Cloud and how they're now bringing Adobe Firefly. That's just one of the portions of AI that they're introducing for students to use, and students and professionals to use to create images, any content of that nature. And we'll be talking a little bit briefly about artificial intelligence in general, and then the generative AI portion and how that plays a role into technology that's coming up next. And everybody is the talk of the town. Everybody's talking about technology, and this is just a small portion that will hopefully give you an introduction into that field. How many of you have used ChatGPT? Pretty much everyone. So that's one example. Let me minimize this here. That's just one example of an generative AI tool that is widely being used, and that's the one that's generally everyone has been exposed. But there's other tools such as Gemini. Currently, I'm enrolled in the Google AI Essentials course through Coursera. That they form a partnership with MDC, and they're providing that course for free to students who are currently taking classes for AI. So that's something to also take advantage of. And I feel like I'm learning so much from that course because they're proactively giving you assignments for you to test out all those features that Google is also implementing with AI. And it's also a little bit similar to Copilot, if which is it's going to play a role a lot in AI and how you complete your task, whether for work, for classes, and more. Okay, then we'll talk about Adobe Firefly and the prompting. So prompting, it's what plays a key role when it comes to AI, because that's how you're going to be interacting with most generative AI tools through natural language. And the AI tools will be able to convert your instructions that you give through prompting to the content that you're wanting to create. And the more detail you tend to give the AI, the better that it performs. And we're going to find out a little bit too, because it depends on the AI tool that you're using. And also if you happen to be specialized in like photography, that will play a huge, humongous role in how well you utilize Adobe Firefly, because you already know the vocabulary that the AI has been trained on. So you're able to ask it questions more in a more detailed manner. So you know what to ask it perfectly, like getting a wide angle shot, etc. But you'll see now that Adobe Firefly actually has built-in features to help aid the basic user and start utilizing those prompts more effectively. And we'll play around at the end with some prompts and show you how you can edit it to customize it to what you might need. So what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence, they're computer programs that can complete cognitive tasks typically associated with human intelligence. So what are we talking about here? What do you normally do when you're analyzing an express sheet or an Excel sheet? That's easier for me to say. So you're analyzing information. But this is something that AI can help you with. It's able to analyze information faster. It makes your task more efficient. When it comes to Excel, it can even help you write formulas and convert natural language to formulas with ease. That's what's coming. And this is going to see how we're going to be applying it now here with the Adobe Firefly tool. There's cons to everything. And it's possible that some of the information that some of the AI tools that you might be utilizing are incorrect or are corrupted. If the information is ever corrupted, then that's when you have unintended outputs. And you might run into some data that contains bias in them. So you might not get a desired answer. And you'll see some of that in Adobe Firefly, because some of the prompts you're going to ask it very general questions. You can ask it to say, I want to see two students in a college setting in Miami, Florida. And you will notice that the more you keep asking it those type of questions, that it might give you, the result might just give you a result that will be covering certain ethnicity groups. So that's a certain bias that comes within the program, but you can start being more detailed in what you are requesting. You can request, you can prompt it to give you a result of two African students, two Latin American students, or a person from Spain, 22 years old. So you can start making those distinctions to help the AI learn that these other outputs are also correct, or that it's also okay to post those type of results. Let's see. So generative AI. This generative AI generally refers to content. These are AI that you interact with using natural languages, and again, you're using prompts to generate text. ChatGPT is a conversational artificial intelligence that uses text, images, or other media. Adobe Firefly would apply to images, and that's just one of the portions that Adobe Firefly covers. It also involves other type of media. And these AI I trained using various forms of machine learning techniques, from supervised learning to unsupervised learning and reinforcement learning. I know those sounds like pretty heavy vocabulary when it comes to AI, and this is something that I've been learning on my courses now. So, like for instance, some of the information that is learned, that it's being taught or used to teach these AI programs are are done on purpose. Some of them, you give them labeled data sets that contain extra information that gives context to the AI as it's learning. So you're directing the AI to learn a certain type of information. And then on supervised learning, they don't contain any tags. You just feed the data to the AI, and then the AI analyzes the trends that occur within that data. So there's no goal that you assign the data. It's just learning to read the patterns of the data that's available. And reinforcement learning, that's more like ChatGPT. So this is how they brought it out to the public. So they're trying to analyze the information and how it behaves with your responses. So it's learning as you learn as well when you utilize it. Exciting. Okay, so let's start with Adobe Firefly. So it's a generative AI tool that creates images using simple text. And it uses the machine learning models to interpret the prompts and generate contents that align with your request or your vision. We're going to be focusing on the text to image portion, but just so you know, there's other options there, such as generative fill. That means that it can remove the backgrounds of images, essentially. Or you can mix different images and use the background of one image, but use the individuals that are, or personas that are on another picture. Normally, you would need something like Photoshop and kind of be expert and a little bit of a advanced user in Photoshop to do those kinds of things. I think Canvas is also using some sort of those AI features as well. So prompting. So you guys say that you have used ChatGPT, so you're familiar with prompts. This is just a general view of that. So prompts, there are text instructions. There's natural language that you feed the AI to generate tasks and perform any task that you request it for. And you can give details to help giving context to the content that you're requesting. And it can be questions, statements, or any scenarios that can set a direction for the creative process. What that means is that you can say I want two students. Like one of them, you see some of all these pictures that you're seeing there have been AI generated. So for that particular one, my prompt was create an AI animated picture of an AI robot and a student. And then you put a comma and you add futuristic. So that, the word itself, futuristic, gives it a context, because we want something that's futuristic. It's something that's AI that's going to be advanced and showcasing that technology. So that's an example of a quick prompt. And there's others that are better worded than what I'm saying, but that's just an example of what you can utilize. I mentioned earlier that prompting Adobe Firefly is a little different. So if you're specialized with content creation, photography, you're majoring in art, you're already going to have a leg up when it comes to using Adobe Firefly, because you're going to be familiar with the prompts and the wording that you need to use to take advantage of it. So you can be more specific, descriptive, and always original. Always try to be original. You will see some templates when we go to the next part as we create some of the images. So you can start out with the subject, right? Like the example we see here is a serene beach. So you're already setting up the setting of that. So what do you want to see in the serene beach? You want to see gentle waves. And all of that plays a part. You would think that that wouldn't, but the AI pays attention to that detail, and you will see calm waves within the being depicted in the picture. And then, I mean, you can utilize feelings. I'm more of a party person, so when feelings, I will utilize party. So they're gonna give you a kind of like a result where they're in Miami Beach, and they'll show you the individuals, and you might see somebody with holding two maracas to kind of illustrate that it is like a party scenario. And you can add even more, like if you don't want to make it animated, you can just make it realistic. You can literally just type comma realistic. So this is a descriptor that you're giving it so that it further gives you the result that you're looking for. Lighting, just like we have these lights here in this room to provide better scenery, that's also a keyword that you can use. You could say warm lighting, warm red, blue lighting, gel lighting. That picture that you see there was part of one of my assignments for one of my AI classes in marketing. So that assignment was for me to create content for marketing for an events company. So my company was an event, and I wanted to illustrate a picture of a wedding couple. So these are AI pictures, and they look so realistic. And let me tell you that it took me a couple of tries because I wanted those lights in the background. I really wanted those too, so that it can give that scenery, because I mean lights make me happy. So I figured that could be translated to those pictures. Okay, so we're gonna come back to this, and we're gonna exit out of the PowerPoint and go to Adobe Firefly. Okay. So that is, if you want to know where to use it, it's firefly.adobe.com. As students, as NDC students, if you're enrolled in photography classes, art classes, you should have access to the Adobe Creative Cloud, and it should give you access to also Adobe Firefly. If you don't have access, but maybe you're taking a marketing class and your professor has an assignment tailored towards AI, you can ask your professor to request that access for your class. We have seen that happen in a couple of courses, so that's something that you can get. But that's how you access it. If you need help, you're welcome to come to Wilson Campus Library. I can help you you get your feet wet with with the application, and kind of guide you through the steps to get it on your computer, or maybe you can use it here on one of our machines, because we have a creator space room that will have all these software available for all students to be able to use. Okay, firefly.adobe.com. Okay, right away you're seeing on the screen that is Adobe Firefly is just going crazy with this prompt. Look how long that prompt is. It's going back though. But the beautiful thing here is that they have many other features that you can use again, but we're gonna focus on text to image portion. Click. Okay. Okay. I mentioned that the beautiful thing is that it gives you a lot of samples already. So if you hover your mouse over the screen, it will tell you the prompt that was used to generate that particular image. And notice that some of these pictures also have a certain style of art to them. So when you use one of these particular templates, it will utilize that style. It will be already applied to whatever you're looking to generate. So if you're first starting out, you want to do that. I'm gonna use this one. It's a full body image of an anime young man wearing hoodie and black glasses. My guess is they were meant to say young man, but you don't need to be perfect when it comes to AI, but that's an example. So we're gonna utilize this. You notice the prompt. I'm gonna read it again. It says full body image of an anime young man wearing a hoodie. But we wanna make this more localized, right? So something that we can make it more personalized. I want somebody that's in Miami, Florida. I don't want the background that you see back there. So I'm gonna write the location at the end. I'm gonna add a comma and then I'm gonna add Miami, Florida, and I'm gonna say the location, which is Bayfront Park. And we're gonna click try prompt. I think we need a whole different class on writing prompts. But so I'm just gonna give you a little quick look of how you can do that. But you see that it took the art style that was already being used for that template. And as you can see in the back, those look like Miami, Florida, Miami buildings, so Biscayne Bay. I would love to have this bridge though. Do we have one of those like that here? But that's just an example, a quick example. I'm gonna explain here on the left-hand side the options that we can see. Let me see if I can zoom in to see the options. So the option that we're wanting to be using is Firefly Image 3. The aspect ratio, I always like using widescreen, which is 16:9, because I'm producing videos all the time, and those videos are normally in landscape mode, widescreen. So that's what I'm looking for normally. But if you were to want a portrait or something for like Instagram, you can select square. That's the main default for that 1:1 aspect ratio. TikTok, I would say portrait 3:4 would be better viewed on that platform, but 1:1 should also work decently. But I'm gonna select widescreen. Okay, below here you see that it has art and photo under content type. So you can make the picture be realistic, or you can make it seem animated, artsy. That's the option you want to create. So let's try by just clicking photo here and clicking generate to see how that changes. Now there's a chance these might not do anything. The reason is because we're using a template. And when you use a template, it's like the AI is already, oh, it didn't do it, but it happens that the AI uses that picture as a reference, because you can also upload a personal picture and use it as a reference. So this comes if you're more advanced and you're into photography and you happen to catch a beautiful scenery over in Japan or Sweden, you can upload that picture there and type a request and say that you want, a beautiful couple walking down the valley, and it will use that picture as a reference and create something that's very similar to that. Okay, so you can see this looks real. So that's a sample for that. I like using both. When I create pictures for my assignments, they tend to be a little more on the photo side. So this is where I mentioned that you can add pictures. You can upload a picture as a reference. And right below it, you can also apply a template. So let's try applying these first, the parrot or the bird as a reference. And let's see how that changes our picture. That one didn't work. So you're going to run into these cases where that happens. So let's remove that one. Okay, let's go below. So the visual intensity, this comes into play. It says that it adjusts the overall intensity of your photos, existing visual characteristics. And you will find out that the more individuals that are in a picture, the less accurate the AI performs. You will start seeing deformed fingers, or the eyes will be, one eye might come out as black or something along those lines. But you can adjust this bar here, either from left to right, until you find an appropriate picture. And you will find that that happens a lot because when you start typing prompts away, you go prompting away, you will see three, four individuals in the scenery. You will see a lot of deformities. The AI has been, Adobe Firefly has come leaps and bounds since I started using it. So it doesn't happen as often, but it does happen. So that's how you can kind of change, uh, play around with the settings so that you get a better look, a better output. Down at the bottom, you also have effects. Let's select painting. So these are different type of effects. Again, if you're very familiar with photography or you have that knowledge, this is where all of that is gonna benefit you, and you're gonna get better outputs and to create content for your projects. I mentioned that how is this can be utilized. How many times do you go into PowerPoint and you go to insert an image and you can't find what you exactly need? You could just go to Adobe Firefly, you type the prompt away, you will save so much time to find what you need. And you can just work from slide to slide and you add the slide that you add the picture and find the picture through the prompts. But at the beginning, it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve as you begin to learn prompts, learn how to write prompts and more. So let's go back. Let's see if before I have found another template that I really wanted to show you guys. Let's see. This guy. So let's get this guy in Miami Beach. Let's see. Miami. When you notice on the prompts here, generally, I'm sure that you've gone to other presentations and they're telling you when you write a prompt, type the word, use keywords, create, design, summarize. Well, you don't need to do that within Adobe Firefly because this is already focused. It's tailored towards images. So you don't need to say create an image. You could just go ahead and start describing what it is that you want to output. So that's why the prompts look a little bit different. You say, oh, you want a monkey wearing sunglasses, make sure he looks cool and it's looking at the camera, because you could totally tell it, you could tell the prompt to come behind the monkey, have like behind the back angle, as opposed to the person staring at the camera. I had a lot of trial and errors with that, but that you can also do that. And you notice how it's detailing it to look at the camera. And illustration, that's like one of the descriptors that we mentioned earlier, how you can tell it to send the scenery. So in Miami Beach, let's just press enter here, see what that looks like. Look, they just added a beach, but let me make this widescreen so hopefully it generates a little more description. Sometimes it helps if you type Miami, Florida. Everyone knows where Miami Beach is at, but sometimes the AI doesn't respond well to that. Okay, I think I like this one. This one looks more showcasing the a little bit of Miami Beach and etc. But this is just a way that you can change it. Let's see what it does if you click photo. This is meant to change it to be a more realistic picture. So he's living the life. Look. Okay. So this is just a way, for you to make your projects exciting. You don't just have to go into PowerPoint and type away, but you can use generative AI tools like Adobe Firefly, to enhance your content, even if you're just creating content to post online. I'm going to showcase right now how I create like the thumbnails for our YouTube channel or playlist. I actually use Adobe Firefly to create like the thumbnails to our intros. And I usually go ahead and I write a prompt similar to this. Let me see if I can see it on my, nope, it's not it. Let me resources. I had it open. I had it open. Adobe Firefly. Images and prompts. So look how many images I've created. Some of them I've used as profile pictures for the speakers. Oops, that open on the other side. Let's see. That's one example. This one I use for well, keeps going to the other side. The prompt for this was a college student sitting in a library using a laptop to access a virtual class. Um, so I was working on a thumbnail for accessing class application. We were working on a tutorial video, how to access this application that's going to be introduced for the Miami-Dade college students. And this was the picture that we use for that. Okay, so let me show you now. So we usually take those pictures and I bring it into Canva, and then we can add like, placeholders that we have describing our department, and then the title of the workshop, etc., and then Tech Tuesdays, whatever program is part of. And we usually um, put a descriptor there just to say that we use AI to create that. It's not necessary to do that, but I think it's a good practice to do that with any content that you use that is AI generated, to post, assign there, whatever program you use. For this one in particular, we use Designer, but you'll notice some of these above here that we use Adobe Firefly, Adobe Firefly. And then we usually add animation to that. Simple animations to make it into like an introduction video. Even though I'm not a fan of how that one is looking. Look, that's an actually AI picture. I wonder what the prompt was for that one. But okay, so it's more examples of how we're creating or using AI. And this is where all those pictures go. So this is another AI Tech Tuesday that was given a couple of weeks ago, months ago, leveraging AI. So that's the introduction that you saw before.
All right.
So that's a quick snippet of Adobe Firefly. There's obviously a lot more that goes into that. Let's see. I haven't checked the chat. I don't know if there's any questions on there. No, I don't think so. So does anyone have any question? And let's see. Please feel free to scan this QR code with your phones. Let us know how we did on this workshop. Make any suggestions of what workshops you want to see in the future. And I take any questions now. Oh, this is not aligned. Hold on. There, sorry. Yes?
When you study the prompt with the AI, you're able to recognize just like never been able to recognize in businesses that you said in like the person in Disneyland, for example.
Actually, like if you read towards the suggestions on Adobe Firefly, they have a list of to-dos and don'ts. they ask that you don't necessarily, you can name a place, a city, etc. But like a place of business or things like that, it won't work well because it's not trained on that information or the yeah. So like you cannot say Picasso, give me a painting similar to Picasso, and it won't generate. It might generate something, but it won't be what you're expecting because obviously for copyright, and that's something that was not a that I didn't mention, right? What are the guidelines to use the content or anything created in Adobe Firefly? It's free of use. You can use it anywhere. That's why I mentioned that there's no copyright laws currently abided to the content you create there. I mean, that might change. We don't know how the future is going. That could change, but at the moment, it's free of use. That's what I mentioned, that it's good practice to tag your content and say that it's AI created. Even if you just state that it's AI created, that's usually good enough. You don't need to specify what you use to create it because how many AI applications are there now? Any other question? Okay, so the question is, are you able to customize your avatar with this application? The characters, yeah. Yeah, you can, I mentioned that you can create like, um, you can upload like a picture for reference, and you can tell it, animate this picture, or make it like a cartoon or something like it. That's what you want to do. Yeah, that's something that you can do. And they have other features there. That also work with natural language. This is text to image, but there's other ones that have that ability as well. That's Sylvie.
Adobe Firefly, and we put it in Canva and animated it, so it can take a still from Adobe Firefly and then animate it, and Canva will animate the still. How does that work?
Yes. So the question is, I'm doing this for the online So the question is, when I transported an image to Canvas, how was it animated? How does it work? So Canvas treats any object that you bring in independently. You can choose to animate each subject if you want. Generally, so I like to create the entire template as a still image, but then it treats the image as an object, then it treats the other text that you added on top of that as an object. So then it animates it all together. You could choose to just animate the picture if you want, or you could choose it to animate each text however you want. Yeah. Anybody else has any other questions? No? Okay, so again, thank you for coming to this Tech Tuesdays. Tell us how we did on the survey. Any other workshop that you're interested in, application, let us know. We'll review it and bring it to you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny.